guys, and welcome back to the randomized K-On! Pokemon Team series. We're moving on to Unova Ritsu. Ritsu's first Pokemon will be Volcarona. I do not think Ritsu could have had a stronger start than this thing, outside of legendaries, pseudos, and mythicals. Volcarona is by far one of the best bug types to get. I think Gen 5 was when the type really started taking off. Its stats are amazing. It is so close to being a pseudo. Fast and great special-wise. For abilities, I think Flame Body is the better of the two and much less risky. For level up moves, you're going to be waiting a long time if you don't start with Larvesta, especially with Black and White's slow EXP gain. Keeping it pre-evolved gets us some pretty decent attacks to help it out. For TMs, it gets a few good options, though the type variety isn't that huge. So a hell of a start. Not too bonkers, but by no means shabby. This thing will do damage. Ritsu's second Pokemon will be Zoroark. Now this is one I can easily see Ritsu causing trouble with should she be so inclined, which she undoubtedly would be. Zoroark is one of only two Pokemon I can name off the top of my head that received a movie but were not legendaries or mythicals, the other being Lucario. It is very much built for high-speed mixed attacking, being pretty frail everywhere else. For abilities, it has its, I think this is right, signature ability Illusion. I don't actually know how useful it really is given it only changes Zoroark's appearance, so feel free to comment down below. For level up moves, it's ridiculously narrow type-wise with only U-turn for coverage, but its stab attacks of Feint Attack, Foul Play, and Night Slash are pretty good. For TMs, it's actually quite good. There's a nice amount of coverage moves it can use, although I never knew Incinerate was so weak. So this is a very good addition to the team. If Ritsu didn't focus on pulling pranks with this thing, she'd do really well with it. Ritsu's third Pokemon will be Electros. Now that is a good team member to have based on what I've heard. Much like Sableye in Gen 3 and Spiritomb in Gen 4, Electros is a Pokemon that has no real weaknesses outside of certain abilities, making it pretty hard to deal with. While it is very slow, it hits damn hard and isn't all that frail. For abilities, it only gets Levitate, but that means that its only weakness in ground is completely negated and hazard moves, with the possible exception of Stealth Rock, cannot touch it. Being a stone evolution, its level up moveset is damn small. You'll want to keep its pre-evolved to give it better moves, specifically Thunderbolt. For TMs, it gets some pretty decent options. Dragon Claw, Brick Break, Flamethrower, Rock Slide, Flash Cannon, there's some versatility here. So a very good team member to have. Powerful, variable in its move options, no type weaknesses, it's terrific. Ritsu's fourth Pokemon will be Espeon. That's a very good Pokemon to have. Espeon still remains one of the best evolutions to date, though I wouldn't know exactly where it would rank nowadays. It is very much a fast special Pokemon, phenomenal special attack, great speed, and very good special defense. For abilities, Synchronize definitely seems better than Magic Bounce, especially since, from Gen 5 onwards, the bad poisoning from Toxic and double-layered Toxic Spikes would be passed on as bad poison. For level up moves, there's little to talk about since it's really narrow, like several other Psychic types. For TMs, it doesn't really change. Shadow Ball and Grass Knot are nice coverage moves, but that's really it. So not what you would call a versatile Pokemon, but it's still damn powerful and would put in a lot of work. Ritsu's fifth Pokemon will be Gliscor. Nice! Ritsu gets one of MHATV's favorite Pokemon, and a damn good Pokemon at that. I have heard nothing but good things about Gliscor, and I fully intend to use one at some point. Its stats are very acceptable all round. It lacks special attack, but that's not that big a loss I don't think. For abilities, they all seem pretty useful, but from what Michael said in his If I Was the Sinnoh Champion video, Poison Heal is very likely the best, especially in competitive since you can intentionally trigger it with a Toxic Orb so it heals instead of taking poison damage. For level up moves, it gets no ground attacks, which is a bit odd, but it does make up for that with a surprising amount of natural coverage. All three Elemental Fangs, Poison Jab, Feint Attack, Night Slash, U-Turn, X-Scissor, that is damn impressive to learn naturally. For TMs, it's also pretty impressive. Stab Earthquake, Brick Break, Sludge Bomb, Aerial Ace, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Poison Jab. It may not be cast form levels of variety, but Gliscor is by no means lacking in options. So this is a terrific team member to have. It was one of Ash's best Pokemon and is a fan favorite. You'd get a lot of work out of it. And Ritsu's last Pokemon will be Vanillex. Not a terrible way to end the team. The Ice type has always been criticized in the Pokemon community, but it still has its uses. Vanillex is one of those Gen 5 Pokemon that isn't exactly adored, but it isn't really flat out hated. It is a pretty respectable Pokemon in its stats, green attacking stats and special defense. For abilities, I feel Ice Body is most useful since free healing is always nice, even though it requires setup with Hail. For level up moves, it's limited. There's a couple of decent attacks here, but nothing truly stand out. For TMs, it's basically the same. There is Flash Cannon for coverage against rock types, but that's really the only thing worth noting. So a pretty average ending to Ritsu's team, honestly. It is far from the best Ice type she could have gotten, but it's reasonably strong and could do well if used right. Though if Yui were to see it, I all but guarantee she'd try licking it. And that's it for Ritsu's Gen 5 team. It's overall pretty decent. She does have some strong team members, so if she kept her head on right, I think she'd do well. As always, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to come join me on Discord, consider backing me on Patreon, and remember to stay chilled.